presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are LA.
Well, unusual weather here at the Big A. We've got some cloudy skies, a little bit cooler than we've had the last couple of days, but the Angels trying to make it 2 in a row as they welcome in the Seattle Mariners for the first of 3 tonight here at the Big A. As we welcome inside this beautiful ballpark and back to Angels baseball on Fox Sports West along with Mark Gubiza. I'm Victor Rojas. Now, in yesterday afternoon's contest against the Texas Rangers, a couple of unlikely heroes, Yunel Escobar and Andrelton Simmons, using the long ball. Simba going deep twice.
Yeah, they combined for 4 home runs this entire season. It was our Honda helpful moment. Some big flies in the day yesterday helping out Jared Weaver and the Angels to be able to win that one. Yunel Escobar starts off the game with a power swing, drives out to left center field, his 4th home run of the season. And then Simba coming up. Had 1 home run coming into the ball game. He drives it out almost the exact same spot, left center field. Not to be undone, his next at bat, another home run. So 3 home runs on the season for Simba going to left field on that big fly. So the big fly was really important for the guys. Hopefully someone unlikely one here tonight will do the same against Seattle.
Now, Andrelton was originally in the starting lineup. He's been scratched with a contusion to his right hand. Cliff Pennington will get the start instead at shortstop. Now, talking about the Seattle Mariners, the last time the Angels were up in Seattle taking on the M's, the long ball was prevalent. Mike Trout obviously had a couple of home runs.
Yeah, and of course in the first inning against Miranda, take a look at our Carl's Cam replay. Mike Trout, as usual, going back to that start on September 2nd. Miranda tried to sneak a fastball in. Trout did such a good job as far as bringing his hands inside the baseball, right center field over that 380 sign. How quick he is with that short swing. Another home run against Seattle for Trout.
Ricky Nolasco's on the mound for the Angels, trying to make it 2 in a row and trying to knock out the Seattle Mariners of postseason contention. We're just about ready for baseball. That's coming up next. This telecast of Angels baseball on Fox Sports West is brought to you by Hyundai. Great deals on amazing cars are going on now at your Hyundai dealer. Visit buyhyundai.com today. By Jack in the Box. Taste the all-new Brewhouse Bacon Burger today for limited time only at participating restaurants. By your Southern California Toyota dealers. By Mercury Insurance, on a mission to save you money. Log on to mercuryinsurance.com to get a fast free quote and see how much you can save. And by the Jeep Renegade. Find your inner renegade and reach your highest potential with an EPA estimated 31 highway miles per gallon. against the Seattle Mariners. The Halos with the victory yesterday, now 63-79. And Seattle has won 5 consecutive games, and 7 of the last 10 find themselves tied for second at the start of the day. 9.5 games back in the American League West. This is the lineup that Scott Service will run out this evening. Seattle at 75-68. We'll have Nori Aoki leading things off in left field. Seth Smith at right. Robinson Cano at second base. Nelson Cruz at DH. Kyle Seeger at third base. Dae-Ho Lee gets to start at first base tonight. Leonis Martin at center. Mike Zunino is the catcher, and Ketel Marte batting ninth, and he is the shortstop. They are taking on Ricky Nolasco, who's making his 8th start as an Angel, his 29th start of the season. Overall, 5-13 and a 4.90 ERA.
And he's really thrown the ball exceptionally well. His last couple of starts, 16 innings covered, just 3 runs allowed for Ricky Nolasco. My go-tos, though, for Ricky to be successful today is that two-seam away, that two-seam fastball, so important for him, especially going down and away against a lefty and away against a righty, and curve location. He's been using his curveball a little bit more so. His slider's been solid, but his curve very, very good against left-handed batters.
Let's check out the defense for the Angels this evening. Jeffrey Marte gets a start at left. Mike Trout at center. Cole Calhoun in right. The infield with Yunel Escobar and Cliff Pennington on the left side. Gregorio Petit and C.J. Cron on the right, and Jet Bandy, after an afternoon off, is back behind the plate.
And Cole Calhoun has been playing some outstanding right field. Just 1 error in his last 69 games. It's 4 errors in the first 69, 9 outfield assists. And he's been playing some outstanding defense, covering a ton of ground. That arm, accurate as any arm in the American League.
Nori Aoki ready to lead things off. The left fielder comes in batting .269. A couple of home runs, 19 runs batted in. First pitch swinging, fouls it off. It's the 17th meeting between these two teams. The series in a dead heat, 8-8. Last meeting of the season between these two ball clubs. I mentioned a different afternoon, or different early afternoon and early evening. As far as the temperature is concerned, 66 degrees at first pitch. So breaking ball misses in.
You see that feel, that curveball he's been having of late. Obviously it helps out if you're Ricky Nolasco. You're watching Jerry Weaver throw that curveball in there. He's had a good feel for that pitch. Good differential between the speed of that curveball and his fastball.
1-1. It's low. 2 balls and a strike. Laz Diaz is calling the balls and strikes this evening. Corey Blazer at first, Brian Lenore at second, and Doug Eddings over at third.
There's Weaver, who was outstanding his start yesterday.
Evens up the count of 2 balls, 2 strikes. Weaver behind Adam Nevela, the trainer.
Well, you think about it, 12-0 in his career at home against the Rangers with that win yesterday. 11th win on the season. 11-11, 149th career win for Weaver.
2-2. Slap foul.
One thing for Nolasco you have to worry about with Aoki is making sure you keep the pitches down on high pitches. Very, very good. As you can see, he stays back very well on that 90-mile-an-hour fastball, trying to punch that in the left field.
And Martin playing a deeper left field with a guy like Aoki at the plate. And Jeffrey, of course, not very familiar with playing the outfield. This is grounded towards short. Pennington is there. Oh! 1 down.
Like a little two-seamer going down and away. Get a ground ball out for Nolasco. And you're right about Marte playing a little bit deeper. He's more comfortable coming in on the baseball as compared to going back. We've seen that a couple times already. He's done a nice job coming in on a baseball. Going back, it's been a little bit different for him.
Third baseman by trade. Learned the outfield on the fly as Seth Smith settles in. With 1 out, nobody on. Smith a .264 average with 13 home runs, 51 runs batted in. Seattle 35-37 away from Safeco Field. As was at the win yesterday, 33-35 here at home. As Ricky falls behind and 2 balls and no strikes. Texas currently leading Houston out at Minute Maid Park 3-1. That game's in the bottom of the 7th. The Astros have just struggled mightily against the Texas Rangers this year. 3-13 against the Rangers. Then again, the Angels have struggled against the Houston Astros this year.
Well, when you look at the Astros, what, 32-25 against the West. When you put those numbers in, what they've done against the Rangers, they've been very good and very successful against the rest of the division.
11-1 against the Angels. 3-0 to Smith. And a 4-pitch walk. Puts a man off for Robinson Cano.
Second baseman, number 20.
Those numbers for Mike Scioscia's Angels against teams in the AL West. 1-11 against Houston. Winning record against the A's, and even up at 500 against Seattle and Texas.
Robinson Cano having a fantastic season. 299 average, 30 doubles, 32 home runs, 86 runs batted in. We'll look at a strike.
Good career numbers against Nolasco too for Cano. 4 for 9, 444 batting average with a home run. Though he has rolled into 17 double plays, and Nolasco's got 15 turned behind him this year.
This one hit toward the right side. That'll sneak through for a base hit. So 2 on with 1 out. And Nelson Cruz coming up. Cano really not put up big numbers against the Angels this year. Just a 239 batting average, but he has picked it up of late.
Yeah, just under the glove. C.J. Cron and by Gregorio Petit. That fastball looked like he wanted to have that fastball go down and away. It pretty much stayed middle of the plate but down. Was able to hook that one by C.J. Cron for a hit.
Nelson Cruz this year against the Angels, 258 average, 8 home runs, and 13 runs batted in. Comes in batting 285 on the year with 35 home runs, 89 total RBIs. He's got a couple of men on. First pitch down low. And he's going to go talk things over. Nolasco's last start was at Oakland. 7 innings, gave up 3 runs on 2 hits. He had the complete game shutout against Cincinnati prior to that here at the Big A.
And he was really dealing up there in Oakland into the 8th inning. It looked like he ran out of gas in the special location of his pitches.
Recently faced Seattle back on the 15th of August. And that was here. Gave up 3 runs on 8 hits at 5 1/3. Threw a lot of pitches though at 5 1/3. 109 total pitches. He's thrown a few already here with 13. 7 balls, 6 strikes.
It's a big spot already for Nolasco and the Angels for a guy that's had success against Nolasco with 3 home runs for Cruz.
Tapper foul, 1 ball, 1 strike. Jeffrey Marte playing very deep and left. Trout and Calhoun at normal depth and straight up in the other 2 outfield spots, center field and right respectively. Nelson Cruz now 36 years of age. Second season with Seattle. 44 home runs last year. That's his career high. 1-1. Good pitch on the outside part of the plate, at least according to Laz Diaz. Nelson doesn't think so. 1-2.
Well, that's the spot he's got to live all day long against these right-handed batters.
If he's going to get that call, absolutely.
He might even go back out there once again. It's a good try on that slider going down and away. See Bandy setting that target, tapping the ground to make sure he threw that ball exactly where he wanted him to.
But that's a pitch you want to start at the corner of the plate, right? And dart out. If it starts off the plate, now few hitters will.
This pitch, I think because of that pitch was so far off the outside corner, called a strike, it's worth a gamble that one pitch there to do.
This one lined to right. It'll hang up for Cole. 2 down. Smith back to second.
Third baseman, number 15, Kyle Seager.
So 2 outs and 2 on. We're in the first. Kyle Seager coming up. Mariner, third baseman. A .292 average. 28 home runs and 92 runs batted in. .28 home runs, 2 better than last year. He set his career high at 26. Career high in RBIs, 96. That was 2 seasons ago. He's won it all in the All-Star year. Ahead of the count at 1 ball, no strikes. Smith, a walk, standing at second. Cano with the singles over at first. One. Last time we saw Kyle Seager, of course, was at Safeco. That was with Matt Shoemaker on the mound. Line drive that hit Shoe on the right side of the head. Thankfully, Shoe's doing all right, resting comfortably.
And Seager had told his brother, Corey, that he was pretty shook up from that line drive.
1-1. Fouled back, 1-2.
He's got great coverage on that outer part of the plate. You remember before he used to be pull happy? He's really stayed back very well. 64 extra base hits this season for Seager.
He did a nice job adjusting to the shifts.
Yeah, batting average up against the shifts this season.
It's already surpassed last year's totals in extra base hits, and that one's down low. 2 balls and 2 strikes. He's a guy that has progressed each year from the power numbers from 20 to 22 to 25 to 26 to this year's 28.
Try to get him to chase that split finger fastball out of the zone. Not a bad idea to try that one down and away.
2-2. Breaking ball got him. Swinging down goes Seager, and Nolasco gets out of a little trouble. We'll head to the bottom of the first with no score. Let's check out Mike Scioscia's lineup for game number 143 of the Angels season. Escobar leading things off at third, Cole Calhoun at right, Mike Trout at center, Albert Pujols at DH, C.J. Cron at first base, Jeffrey Marte the starter in left field, Jeff Bandy back behind the plate with Pennington the starting shortstop with Simmons getting scratched, and Gregorio Petit batting ninth, and he is playing second base as they take on the native of Cuba by the name of Ariel Miranda.
Miranda's throwing the ball very well for Seattle this year. 3-1 mark. Fastball 90-95. Slider, changeup, split. My go-to is to be successful against Miranda. Score early. He's been very good after that first time through. And elevation important, especially with that split finger fastball and changeup. Bring that up in the zone and then drive it, especially the other way, like Trout did against him in Seattle.
8th big league appearance, 7th big league start for Miranda. As Escobar swings the first pitch, fouls it off. Miranda pitched one game with the Orioles out of the bullpen before getting traded to Seattle. That was in exchange for Wade Miley. Escobar, 321 average with 4 home runs and 35 runs batted in.
Well, right now you're seeing Laz Diaz calling that fastball off the little bit off the outside corner, so pitchers are going to hit that spot and try for it.
This one's out to center field. Martin is there. One down.
And my Hyundai key for this game for the Angels to be successful, a little usher, a little no limit, especially what we've seen against Seattle. The Angels have scored early and then they haven't scored a whole lot after that. So keep scoring those runs, keep adding on. No limit as far as runs scored in the scheme for the Halos tonight against Seattle.
Miranda making his 3rd start already this year against the Angels. They gave up 3 runs the first time in 5 innings. Last time out was at home, gave up 4 runs in 6 innings. Cole swinging first pitch, rolls it foul. 265 average for Cole after went 1 for 4 last night or yesterday afternoon, picking up his 27th double.
Cole 3 for 5 against Miranda.
With the cloud coverage, the skies got dark early. It's like a little May, June weather.
Yes.
1-2.
He has that feel of fall right here today. Haven't seen that in a long time.
One-two, little chopper towards second. Cano has to come in on it. Low throw, and he fires it away. Hits the screen and stays in play. Kind of a nonchalant, and then again, Robinson always does everything nonchalant.
He's always had such a super quick transfer and throw. That arm angle, the low throw, almost looked like Lee was not ready for that.
Either that or, I don't know, did Robinson have a clean handle on it?
Yeah, he had it.
Yeah, it's just a low throw, and Lee can't dig it.
Especially a lot on that throw from that close of a distance in the one hop.
Infield base hit. How about that? Some home cooking.
Cano has had 0 errors in his last 64 games. This is that territory where Mike Trout has done a lot of good things against Seattle in the first inning.
Trout 322 average with 27 home runs and 89 runs batted in.
Good pitch to do some damage here for Trout.
Top part of the strike zone. 2-1.
And we showed that home run here in our opening against Miranda. It was a pitch on the inner half. He went inside out and drove it out over the 380 sign in right center field in Seattle.
Little cue shot towards short. Marte comes in on it, fires to second, and Cano drops it. That's a tough play. I know you're trying to get the lead runner, but I think he would have been better served to just take the out at first.
Yeah, because that's one of those tough plays, getting out of the batter's box for Mike Trout to be able to beat that one out. And one of those throws going right in towards the runner, too. And another off-balance throw. Cano's reaching out as as Calhoun is sliding to second base.
Yeah.
It's a difficult play for Cano. Again, it almost looked like out of the glove. He had a tough grip, but then he was able to maintain the grip.
It's a fielder's choice and an error on Marte. 16th error of the season. Albert will bat with 2 on, just like the Mariners did top of the inning.
Albert looking to add on to the RBI total here.
Down and in. Halo struggled with men in scoring position over the weekend against Texas. Total of 3 for 27. 0 for 6 yesterday, even though they picked up the win. And 3 solo home runs to help out. 1-1. That's a pitch Albert's been hitting a long way. Takes it. It's 1-2.
You can see he was upset that he did take that pitch. See that good life on the arm. Fastball inside at 94. It's impressive for a youngster to pitch inside against a hitter like Albert Pujols.
Two. Albert breaks his bound, hits one over to third. Seager to Cano. That's going to send him to a 5-4-3. Around the horn double play to end the first. We'll head to the second. Scoreless. Both starters had a couple of base runners on board in the first inning, but no damage for either side. Dejo, Lee, Leonis Martin, and Mike Zunino. 6, 7, and 8 for Seattle. Lee's been swinging a hot bat of late. The overall batting average at .266 with 14 home runs at 49 RBIs. Since August 30th, he's at .452 with a .500 on base percentage. Ball and a strike.
The way he has his hand set up, you would think he could throw a fastball in on him. Very difficult for him to be quick enough to drive that baseball, but if you're going inside, though, you got to make sure you get it on that inside corner.
Dejo takes a strike.
That's where Bandy was set up. That drifted out over the plate from the last go.
34-year-old native of South Korea. According to Baseball Reference, his nicknames are either Big Boy or Pig Tiger. Here's the 1-2. Breaking ball line to short, and there's the first out of the inning. I don't write the stuff. I'm just reading what's on baseballreference.com. Hey, get your red on. Host a business function or celebrate a special occasion in your own private suite at Angel Stadium. Suite rentals offer all-inclusive food and beverage packages. Visit angels.com/suites for more information. So I take it if I were to dub you Pig Tiger, no good?
I don't know if I'd make it through.
No? Just PT? Here's Leonis Martin. Martin, a 243 average with 14 home runs and 42 runs batted in. I love the fact that it says "or" there. Big Boy or Pig Tiger.
Yeah, why wouldn't you have two choices?
Escobar guarding against the bunt. Martin takes a big rip.
That could be a future Gooby Tuesday question to the guys. The nickname that you used maybe when you were younger. How about you?
What was the question? I was getting ready to ask you something.
I can't clear my mind on the one nickname. Oh,
it's a strike. Good pitch. Good location. 2 balls, 2 strikes. What would be the Gooby Tuesday question?
what was your nickname as a child?
That nobody knows about?
No, nobody knows about.
Nobody knows you by now?
Yes. I'm sure they'd be really happy to give me that information.
Oh, sure. 2-2, and this one's looped into left field. That's a fair ball. That's going to go for 2 bases. Martin with good speed. Jeffrey gets it back in. But Martin picks up his 15th double of the season. It comes with 1 out here in the second.
And most of those flares in the outfield are going to be something elevated. This curveball stayed upstairs for Nolasco. And Martin just flares it. He was looking to try to pull that baseball, was a little bit in front, but flares it to left field. Now, the one thing for sure you have to keep an eye on right now if you're Nolasco, Martin loves to try to steal third base. Got to vary that look back. 17 stolen bases on the season.
Mike Zunino. Zunino hitting .229 with 11 home runs, 26 runs batted in. Seems like Ricky's been behind in counts quite a bit already. And now one sails past Bandy, and that'll allow Martin to get to third on a wild pitch.
I was just going to say he's not working at as quick a pace as we've seen, especially those last couple of games. And he's missed location quite a bit early on here.
Wild pitch putting Leonis Martin over at third base. Only 3 of 8 first pitch strikes so far.
And even some of the spots where you see Jeff Bandy setting up, he's missed. Now it's still early in the game. He's trying to make those adjustments from the bullpen and getting ready to in the game here. You can see this by the body language right now for Ricky Nolasco is just trying to get into a groove at some point. Now infield in for the Angels.
Good off-speed pitch, 2-1. Gotta be careful with Zunino. 11 home runs. He's averaging a home run per 10.73 at-bats. Right now, as someone who's had 10 or more home runs in a season in Mariner history, that's the best ratio. It's better than Junior.
He is super strong.
118 at-bats. 2-1. 2-2.
And if you're going in on a fastball, you better have some movement like that, and that's exactly what Nolasco had on his 2-seam fastball.
Got big out here so that you can relax the infield and put them back at normal depth. 2-2 pitch. Breaking ball, and this is shot to right center field. It's a base hit. It'll bring home the first run of the game. Martin scores, and it's 1-0 Seattle.
And that's the one thing we've seen from Zunino this season. When the Angels have faced him, he stayed back on the breaking ball pretty well. In the past, even one that's got a lot of the plate like this one, he would swing and miss, but he stayed back. He was looking to try to punch the ball that way. He was successful with an RBI single.
27th run batted in for the Mariner catcher. He's at first. And here's Ketel Marte. Switch hitting shortstop. He's been batting .268. Escobar in on the grass at third. Little chopper, little foul. 1 home run, 20 doubles, 2 triples for Marte.
Again, that fastball upstairs, upper part of the strike zone. I'm talking to Ricky Nolasco in between starts. He said he's had a real good feel for his two-seam fastball working down and away, both against lefties and righties. So far, it's been a difficult task for him to hit those spots with that movement.
Looks like he's falling off a little bit more so tonight than we've seen of late.
Yeah, to be successful with a two-seam fastball for a right-handed pitcher, especially trying to go down and away on a lefty, you have to really stay on top of that pitch. Keep that front shoulder locked in.
One. This is sky to center. Not very deep. Shot comes in on it, calls off Pennington. 2 outs.
Left fielder, number 8, Rory Aoki.
Back to the top of the order now, and Nori Aoki. Left fielder grounded out to lead off the game. One ball, one strike. Double by Martin. A little flare down the left field line. A single by Zunino after a wild pitch. Seattle the early lead. 41 pitches by Nolasco so far.
Threw 94 pitches in that complete game just a couple starts ago. 91 into the 8th inning last start out. Good slider there. Real good feel for that pitch.
One ball, 2 strikes. Yes, he did. He went around on the breaking ball. The inning comes to an end, but Seattle strikes for a run on a couple of hits. Leaves a man on. Way to the bottom of the second with the Mariners up 1-0.
idea. Mike Scioscia just one win away from tying late great Hall of Famer Earl Weaver on the all-time win list for Major League Manager, time of the sorta. Scioscia's old manager with the Dodgers, 20th with 1,599 career wins as a manager.
Earl Weaver ejected 92 times in his career. Cron popping up the first one into foul territory. First pitch he sees from Miranda. It's a no balls, 1 strike. Scioscia, by the way, 50 ejections shy of tying Weaver.
A little more difficult. You have to really try hard, especially now with replay. Earl had some great ones, though.
Yeah. Certainly was animated.
Him and Lou Piniella.
Cron shoots one out toward right field. Seth Smith got a good jump on it. Will track it down for the first out.
And now it's time for Tools of the Trade, brought to you by Ram Trucks, with Jeffrey Marte coming to the plate back on September 2nd against Miranda. Well, you talk about getting those hands inside the baseball quickly. That's a fastball that was a little bit off the inside corner, and he turned on it, a laser out to left field for Marte against Miranda.
Going off speed. We've seen a lot more off speed from Miranda tonight.
Talking to Seattle people, he's been throwing a lot more changeups, split finger fastballs.
Ball and a strike. Marte at 263 with 12 home runs and 37 RBIs. Starting left fielder tonight. 1-2.
Marte didn't necessarily agree with that call. Look a little bit above the strike zone.
He'll go down swinging for the first strikeout of the night for Miranda. 2 outs.
That's that solid changeup.
Almost looked as if Jeffrey was looking for an off-speed pitch. As we got into the batter's box here, it looked like he hopped up just a little bit toward the pitcher's mound. Obviously didn't work out in his favor.
It's hard to do that when a guy's throwing 90-95 with his fastball, though, even though he has a good changeup and split. Now, Marte is extremely quick on a fastball.
And he fouls it off. Jet at 246. Cooled off a little bit. 4 for 21 in the month of September.
And playing in that time of the year where he's not used to playing. A little bit of an adjustment for him. I talked to him today. He's trying to keep his routine as far as workout and keeping strong.
1-2 pitch in tight. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
What we've seen from Miranda, he follows up that fastball in with something off speed. So he has that split finger grip to start with.
Out in front of that changeup. Seattle getting a run at the top of the second. Single by Mike Zunino. Fastball, and it's ground to short. 1-2-3 shutdown inning. We will head to the third with Seattle up 1-0. Coaching Alliance and its mission to develop better athletes, better people by working to provide all youth and high school athletes a positive character-building sports experience. Visit FoxSportsSupports.com to learn more. 1-0 Seattle, top of the third. They will send up 2, 3, and 4 here against Ricky Nolasco, who's thrown quite a few pitches so far through the first 2 innings, but he has limited it to just 1 run on 3 hits and 1 walk. He's also picked up a couple of strikeouts. Looking for a quick inning. Smith worked a 4-pitch walk in the first, so no official AB for him. One ball, 1 strike. Evan Gattis has hit a home run in the bottom of the 9th inning in Houston to tie things up at 3 off of Sam Dyson, who's trying to close it out for Texas. The Astros alive in that one. The opening game of that series.
Not easy to do to hit a ball in the air against Dyson, that power sinker that he has.
Two-one pitch. Count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Home run to Gattis, by the way, at 95 mile per hour. 2-seam fastball. Let me guess, it was up and a little bit in, right?
Yeah, no doubt. That's a strong man to hit that.
Yeah. That's Pennington with a put out. 1 out.
Second baseman, number 22, Robinson Cano.
Here's Robinson Cano. Snuck a base hit past the diving C.J. Cron his first time up. Petit, second baseman, out at shallow right with a shift on. And Cano skies one out to deep right. Cole racing back toward the corner. It's a towering shot. Calhoun leaps up and he just runs out of room. Just beyond his reach, Cano hits his 33rd home run of this season and makes it 2-0 Seattle.
And that pitch is upstairs. And Cano brought his hands up and was able to get the barrel of the bat and hits that one right down in that right field corner. He's trying to go two-seam fastball. It stays upstairs. A two-seam fastball up there flattens out, goes to the barrel of the bat. And Cano just gets it by Cole Calhoun, just over the glove. Van catching that one. Just over the glove.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Cole would have gotten leather on it. But a nice effort by Cole. Now 33 home runs, ties a career high for him back in 2012 with the Yankees. Danger pitch there to Nelson Cruz, 1-1.
And this part of the order from Smith, Cano, Cruz, and Seager coming into the game career-wise. These four hitters, .355 batting average against Rickett and Velasco.
Two balls and a strike. It's the third straight inning, Gooby, that Ricky has retired the leadoff man and then gotten into some trouble. Walk in the first and a single, double and a single, a second, and now the home run to Cano here in the third.
And he was trying to sink that fastball down and away. It stayed upstairs.
Good slider.
It's a real good slider there.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Winning 4 straight games versus the Angels this season. Pretty good spot, just a little bit off the outside corner.
Full count. Seager on deck. Here's payoff. Got jam. Petit is there. 2 down.
That fastball had some good running action after just missing on the outside corner with a fastball. Runs it back in, jams him. Second out of the inning. Seattle Club, a lot of power. 198 home runs as a team now with that home run by Robinson Cano. That's his 17th career home run against the Angels.
Seager takes inside. He struck out then the first. What a one. Lifted down the line. Long run for Marte. This one will hit that warning track and go foul. Escobar was in a shift, so he had a long run as well. One-two from Velasco. This one's out to right. Cole has to back up on it. There's a play. Third out is recorded, but Robinson Cano extends the Mariners' lead to 2-0 with his 33rd home run as we head to the bottom of the third. Scratch from the starting lineup tonight with a right-hand contusion, and this is a play that occurred last night or yesterday afternoon in the 8th inning.
Yeah, this is a pickoff by J.C. Ramirez, and then on the rundown, as he's going to make that tag, Carlos Gomez reached back and tried to elbow him, and as he's trying to avoid that contact, the fist hits the shoulder and into the face of Gomez, and you can see right away, felt that discomfort in his hand. Originally in the lineup today, but scratched right before the game. Been swinging the bat very, very well. 2 home runs yesterday. Last 8 games, batting average just under 400 at 393.
Cliff Pennington gets a start in place of Andrelton.
6 extra base hits in those last 8 games, too, for Simmons.
Pennington in the hole at 0-2. A 207 average. 4 doubles, 2 triples, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. Doesn't hit much from the right side. He fouls this one back. I mean that from just a number of plate appearances. Total of 17 at-bats. 2 for 17 from the right side. Has 118 at-bats from the left. This foul back. Count remains. 2 balls, 2 strikes. You gotta like Miranda's tempo tonight.
He doesn't waste a whole lot of time in between pitches. Well, he's got a real good changeup working tonight.
Second strike of the night for the left-hander. It'll bring up Gregorio Petit. And get your red on 2017 and receive special benefits and great ticket prices by becoming an Angels season seat holder. Call 888-796-HALO or log on at angels.com. Petit, 257 batting average. Tonight's second baseman. Swings first pitch, drives one out to right. This one's hit pretty well. Smith racing back near the wall. It's off the fence. Martin alertly backing up on the play. Gets it back in, and Gregorio with his 13th double of the season. It comes with 1 out here in the 3rd.
Yeah, credit Martin for backing up. A lot of times you become a spectator and watch that baseball. This is a fastball. It's out over the plate, just above the belt, and a very good swing by Petit, driving that ball the other way. Seth Smith goes back to the wall, turns around the other way, puts the glove up, hoping that baseball would go in there just above the glove, but backed up very well by Martin.
Hoping that it magically finds his glove?
Yeah, because he turned his back. That would have been some kind of play. Just find the glove, the magnet.
Top of the order, Yunel Escobar. We'll take down low. Escobar, fly ball to center in his first at-bat. He's 0 for 1.
That's what I felt like in the last 2 fastballs I threw in my career, just kind of hoping it wouldn't be hit 500 feet. But it was.
2-0. Second time that Miranda's had to work from the stretch. A couple of men on with 1 out of the first, facing Pujols, and got Albert to ground into a 5-4-3 double play. That's driven out to center field. Martin's on his horse, racing back. He'll track it down. Petit was almost 3/4 of the way to 3rd. Cannot advance.
That's one of those plays too. You're going to score if it's over his head anyhow. You get back to the base and then you tag up, go to 3rd. You take away that split finger fastball or changeup in the dirt from Miranda. See Petit looking. At this point, go back right to the base and tag up, because you're going to score if it's over his head anyhow. You always want to put pressure on a pitcher to be at 3rd base. You take away that pitch in the dirt if he gets ahead of the count.
Especially when you got a guy in center field that can go get him like Martin can. Gets good jumps on baseballs. So Gregorio still at second, 2 outs now. Here's Cole. Credited with an infield base hit in the first.
His power numbers have really increased as the season progresses for Cole from August, September, 33 of them.
What happens if he's at third base?
Trust me, when you have a guy at third, it's so much different as compared to man on second. No one obviously now on a 2-0 count. It's in the favor of Cole. This is a play Zunino usually was able to catch himself. A fastball with a little bit late movement on it. Didn't get his body over there quick enough. But again, when you go to man on third, you're more apt to not throw that nasty pitch in the dirt as compared to at second.
It's pass ball charge to Zunino. 2-0. In tight, 3 balls and no strikes.
Cole with good career numbers against Miranda, but on a 3-0 count with Trout on deck, I'm thinking take sign right here. Well, Mike Scioscia allows his hitters a lot with trust. But if you do get the green light, you will center a baseball in your zone.
That's a great take. You're so tantalizing to swing 3-0, especially you think you're going to get a fastball with Trout on deck and you get a change.
I mean, it's almost
3-0.
automatic 3-0 fastball, you would think, with Trout on deck. Especially when we showed Trout earlier, hit a 3-run home run against him just back on September 2nd.
Throws him another one and misses low, and he draws the walk. First free pass issued by the left-hander. So 2 men on. 2 outs, and here comes Trout.
Center fielder, number 27.
That's a lot of confidence in that change.
Yeah. We talked about that earlier today. A lot more confidence in that pitch. He's thrown a lot more of them of late. And Cano's going, hey, you threw back-to-back changeups to a lefty, and now you have Trout coming to the plate. What are you going to throw him here? Just don't throw him anything near the plate.
Well, he fooled Trout in his first plate appearance. Got him out in front. A little dribbler to short that resulted in a fielder's choice.
A lot of room on that right side of the infield if he goes away again. And my Hyundai key for this game, talk about no limit. This is one of those innings in which you score some runs if you can and it's keep adding on. Seattle has shown a lot of comeback in them. You got to make sure when you get some runs here, you keep adding on. It's a big opportunity.
1 ball, 1 strike. Apparently caught the inside part of the plate.
Pretty cool view right there. Looking down on Mike Trout, see if he can get a pitch to drive. We got it right off the foot of Mike Trout. Another all-speed pitch. He's getting that foot down. That's his timing mechanism. Right off the top of the foot.
Fastball misses in.
Going back to almost exactly what he did with Albert Pujols. He threw the fastball in like that and then came back with a changeup going down and away. And a lot of room on that right side of the infield for Trout if he does go a changeup down and away.
Even to the alley right center with Martin shading him to pull a little bit. Center.
See right here, a lot of room for Trout to be able to hit. That changeup going down and away.
Two-two pitch. Mistake pitch, and it fooled Trout. Fortunately for Mike, he got a piece of it. Now I would think as a pitcher now you've opened up. Fastball back in, or stick with the changeup even further away.
I think you try that fastball in now. Trout is quick. If he misses out over the plate, it could be trouble. But he's got to be looking away if you're Mike Trout, and he's going away.
He got a fastball and he grounds it to short. Marte will go to second. And they get the force out for the third out. As Cano completes the double play for the fourth out of the inning. We'll head to the fourth with Seattle up 2-0. Ricky Nolasco, a couple of strikeouts, a walk, and 4 hits allowed. Will face Daeho Lee, Leonis Martin, and Mike Zunino here in the Mariners' half of the fourth. First pitch of this inning will be the 60th thrown by Ricky. Daeho Lee, a line out, little soft liner to Pennington in the second inning. So he's 0 for 1. Ground ball to third. Escobar has it. 1 down.
A good two-seam fastball there. Quick ground ball out.
Center fielder, number 12, Leo.
Talked about that a little bit on a pregame show today. As far as Nolasco, that feel for the two-seam fastball has been very good. When he stays down in the strike zone, very effective. He's been hurt in this game. He's been on elevated pitches. But that two-seam fastball really sets up his slider and then also his curveball and even his split-finger fastball. See again, once again, upstairs, a little bit too quick on the delivery of his curveball.
Leonis Martin, a little flared double down the left field line, his first at bat. 15th double of the year. This is lined out toward left center, and that's going to go to the wall. Another pitch that was up in the zone for Martin. Picks up his second double. And the pattern continues for Nolasco, unable to get back-to-back outs to start an inning.
He's been able to get that first out of an inning. And then the second batter has been a problem for him. He's given up a home run, 2 doubles, and a walk. Second batter after getting that leadoff batter out. Pretty good swing though by Martin to stay back, and that lines that one to left center field. Now 16 doubles on the season, and you got to keep an eye on him. Bury your look to second if you're Nolasco.
Oh, safe at second. Good throw by Nolasco and a quick tag by Petit.
Mike Scioscia is going to take a look at that real quickly. Dino Ebel going to call in to Steve Solis. It's very close. Real close.
Very close.
I don't know if he got that hand in there or not. It was extremely close. That angle right there looked like he just got his finger in before the tag was applied.
Zunino had an RBI single his first at bat. '27th RBI. You're looking to strike.
Similar to the pitch, he hit the right center field, but a different count. Oh, Count takes that pitch. What we've seen from Zunino is he's staying back a little bit more so when he's been behind in the count, trying to hit the ball the other way.
There's the 1-1. Zunino hits one toward third glove by Escobar. Looks Martin back. 2 down.
Tough little in-between hop. Escobar able to get that one. Look Martin back the second. And fires over the first base. Pennington wise. Wisely gets over to third base on the throw.
Two outs and a man in scoring position, and it's Ketel Marte up. The shortstop hit a fly ball to Trout. His first plate appearance, so he's 0 for 1. Good location on that pitch. Good off speed, popped him up. Pennington and Petit, and it's Petit calling it, making the catch. The Mariners leave a man in scoring position, but they still lead it 2-0 as we head to the bottom of the 4th. The fourth inning, Albert Pujols to lead things off for the Angels here in this fourth inning. We welcome inside our broadcast booth. And of course, the one thing that stands out today is that Ariel Miranda now making his third start for the Angels. Hasn't pitched a whole lot in the big leagues this year, but 3 starts. Kind of has an idea of what he wants to do, especially with that changeup.
Exactly right. He's going that 4-seam inside, but then he's going back with that little split finger changeup to go down and away against the right-hander. So up and in, down and away so far with all his pitches, and he hasn't missed the middle part of the plate yet. But Albert's trying to make him change that right now.
Just 49 pitches for the left-hander. Got Albert to ground into a double play that ended the first inning, so Albert's 0 for 1.
He is once again with that 4-seam fastball, trying to run it up and in.
This one down towards center field. Will chase Martin back and put it away for the first out.
First baseman, number 20.
Albert now in the midst of an 0 for 17, including tonight.
And he's had some opportunities to do some damage on some pitches and also some RBI opportunities. Some pretty good pitches against him.
So 1 out, and C.J. Cron now at the plate. Cron shoots it out to right center. Martin was shading him that way. 2 down.
Good swing though by C.J. Martin, you mentioned shading that way, was able to run that one down. Fastball down and away.
Marte fouls it back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jeffrey went down swinging on a changeup in the second. 2 strikeouts for Miranda. 1 walk. 2 hits allowed.
He's starting to go through that second time through the lineup. First time through for Miranda. 250 batting average with 5 home runs allowed. Second time through, 250 batting average, just 1 home run allowed. And that third time through, 286 batting average with a home run allowed.
And Marte will go down swinging a 1-2-3 inning. We'll head to the 5th. Still 2-0 Seattle. By Subaru, making the world a better place. That's why we donate to causes we care about. By El Pollo Loco, new chicken tenders. Try them today at El Pollo Loco. And by the 3-row 2016 Mazda CX-9. It's the top of the fifth. Seattle's up by the score of 2-0. A couple of solo runs, one in the second, the other in the third. Single by Zunino, giving Seattle a 1-0 lead. Cano with a home run, his 33rd. Making it 2-0 as Seattle sends up the top of its order here in the fifth. Velasco with a couple of strikeouts and a walk. 4 hits allowed. Aoki, Smith, and Cano. Nori, the left fielder, was grounded out and struck out. We'll drive one out to center field. John has to race back on it and catch. 1 out.
The baseball has been carrying very well here tonight.
Baseball's been carrying all year throughout Major League Baseball.
They had lots of home runs.
Ball's juiced.
Certainly some pretty good carry to the baseball. Trout keeps that head still, the eyes all the way into that baseball, into the glove. Great read, knowing that he's getting close to that warning track just in front of the wall. Head does not move. Able to turn and absorb the contact by the wall by Trout. Nice play.
Smith looks at a strike, a walk, and a ground out. So he's 0 for 1. A game in Houston now headed to the bottom of the 11th. Still tied at 3, Texas and the Astros. Pretty good bite to that breaking ball.
Pretty good break to that one at 73.
Could have been called a strike too.
Yeah, lower part of the strike zone.
Good changeup.
And when he throws that split finger changeup, it's a pretty effective pitch for him. It's going to settle in around that 80 to 83 range.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Close to Ricky. You see the Angel Stadium 50th anniversary logo on the caps. Angels had them on over the weekend and will wear them throughout this week. She is 50. Smith checked his swing. No, he went around. Seth Smith wants help. At least asked Laz Diaz for help.
Home plate umpire does not have to ask. If he felt he swung the bat,
Second baseman.
he's got Service looking in and wondering why he didn't get any help on that one.
Because he didn't need it? Let's see.
Crossed the plate. It was real close. Looked like he crossed the plate though. Home plate umpire at times you would think has the best view of them all, especially on that late break on that breaking ball.
First time tonight that Ricky's retired the first 2 to start an inning. And now facing Cano, homered to right field his last time up. Robinson's 2 for 2 with a single and a home run. The RBI his 87th.
He was taken all the way, anticipating something all speed.
Off the end of the bat to right. Here comes Cole, and he'll make the running catch. As Nolasco has himself a 1-2-3 fifth. We'll head to the bottom of the fifth. Halos down 2-0. Halos will set up the bottom third of its order, trying to figure out Ariel Miranda. The left-hander has 3 strikeouts and allowed 1 walk. He's given up 2 hits so far. A single and a double. The Angels twice have had a couple of men on base, but unable to get anything across. Jet Bandy ground out to end the second, so he's 0 for 1. Looking to strike.
See the adjustment pitchers are having and trying to do against Jet Bandy is trying to elevate fastballs. Bandy's power swing is pitches on the lower part of the strike zone.
No balls, 2 strikes. Fouled back. Another 0-2. This is lifted out to shallow right. Cano going out. Seth Smith calls him off. 1 down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Los Angeles Angels and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Angels Baseball LP.
One of those moments now for Pennington, you might try that push bunt down the first baseline. And Miranda will be falling off towards that third base side of the pitching mound. Some room there on that right side of the infield. Wow, what a play. Wow.
With baby in hand. One ball, 1 strike. You like that catch?
I didn't notice it was a baby in hand at that point, but I just saw the play. I was like, whoa. Ball was hit firmly up that way.
There's another one. It's not going to get up that high. And another great play, and it almost goes down. Saved by fans. That's a catch. Oh, it popped out of the glove.
It's nice, though, the fan gave the baseball back to him, though. Some action over in that side of the field in the stands.
Down the line, that's a fair ball. 2 down.
Second baseman, number 8, Gregorio Petit.
No balls, 2 strikes off Petit, who doubled off the wall and right in the 3rd inning.
Well, Miranda's really pitched inside effectively against right-handed batters.
Ground ball to short. Marte's got the skipper. Miranda's making it look easy. Another 1, 2, 3 inning. 6 in a row, 7 in a row retired by the lefty. And they still are up 2-0.
Greater coverage of baseball. Washington National Anthony Rendon crushed a 3-run home run in the second inning playing the New York Mets as he beat them 8-1 to take a 10-game lead in the NL East and going to Nationals Park. Rendon with 2 on, and this baseball is absolutely crushed. Talking way out. Rendon, his 18th home run of the season, 75 RBI for the Nationals.
Ricky Nolasco coming off a 1-2-3 fifth, facing Nelson Cruz starting the 6th. Good breaking ball.
That's a good decision. He was looking first pitch fastball.
Cruz 0 for 2, a fly ball to right, more of a line drive to right, and a ground ball to second as he got jammed. 2-seam fastball. Off speed, no balls, 2 strikes. First 0-2 count tonight for Ricky Nolasco.
See, trying to stay away on the breaking ball. Cruz very, very strong on the inner part of the plate. He's had a tough time on pitches away this season.
Homered in 4 straight games against the Angels.
Time to waste a pitch well out of the strike zone if you're in Nolasco. It's a good pitch. Talk about those areas of the strike zone in which Cruz has really crushed the baseball, but the outer part of the plate, 0-48, up and away, even middle away, and down and away, low 200s.
Almost got him to chase it. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And even though you think, all right, maybe I should try to sneak something in, I still stay away. You can try to paint a fastball down and away.
This was pulled over to third. That was a rocket. That's played by Escobar. 1 down.
That's that middle part of the plate where he had that batting average up so high, and he was super quick on this fastball. That baseball was almost by Escobar. He's made a couple really good plays on one-hop shots at him tonight. The hot corner, needing those quick reflexes. And Cruz got down that line pretty quickly, made this a real close play.
Going Bobby Abreu sniffing out a single. Bobby, when he wanted to, could run.
Yes, no question. And now Escobar could breathe a little bit.
Seager 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a fly ball to right.
Really swinging the bat well in the last 22 games. Almost a 340 batting average, 338.
This one out towards center field. Chow racing back is there, puts it away. 2 down. Well, Doobie in the 12th inning in Houston. Rougned Odor has come through again. 31st home run. The 12th. 4-3 Texas.
And he's had a lot of real big hits for the Rangers. What power he has. Coming into the game tonight, Seattle and the Astros tied. Record at 75 and 68 apiece, 9.5 games back of the Texas Rangers.
Ground ball to short. Penick retires Lee in a 1-2-3 inning for the second consecutive inning for Nolasco. We'll head to the bottom of the 6th. Still 2-0 Seattle. Down 2-0, trying to solve Ariel Miranda. 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, 2 hits allowed. Miranda's retired 7 straight since walking Calhoun. With 2 outs in the 3rd to face Trout with a couple of men on, but he got Trout to hit into a fielder's choice to end the 3rd. Escobar, Calhoun, and Trout here in the 6th. 72 pitches for the left-hander, 51 strikes. Oh, 1 count. Udell 0 for 2. A couple of fly balls to center field. So Miranda's who won the first 2 battles between the native Cubans.
Good part of the order for the Angels against Seattle in general this season.
And that's lined out to left center field. That'll get down for a hit. Aoki over to cut it off. Leadoff man is on board for the Angels. That is the first time that has occurred tonight.
I mentioned that numbers in 2016 for Escobar 333, Calhoun 345, Trout 340 against Seattle pitching. Got an off-speed pitch upstairs, brought his hands inside, lines that one in the left center field for a single. And for a team that does a lot of defensive shifts, No shift on for Cole Calhoun with the lefty Miranda on the mound against him.
Cole's been on board twice with a single and a walk. Climbed the ladder with the fastball, 1-2.
Cole of late has done a real good job of laying off that high fastball.
There's the 1-2. Cole gets jammed, this one out the left. One down. It's red on as the Angels take on the Blue Jays this Friday, September 16th at 7:05. Fans in attendance will receive a commemorative Mickey Mouse replica statue while supplies last. Just go to angels.com/promotions to get your tickets today.
Try the first couple of at-bats against Miranda. It's not looked real comfortable. So he's going to be up there, I think, swinging that first pitch to try to catch one of those fastballs out in front.
Got it, fouls it off. 0-1.
Right in his spot too. Lower part of the strike zone, middle part of the plate. .702 counts for the youngster here tonight.
Missed outside.
Zunino was set up and in for a fastball. That actually got the outside part of the plate, but he had to reach back for it. Very difficult for a home plate umpire to call that a strike.
Down to reach for that changeup. Count remains at 1-2.
One of those plays too, you're probably hearing some guys in that Angel dugout hollering out. They didn't really come to a stop before he delivered that baseball. Tried to be quick to the plate, throw off the timing of Trout.
Two. Brad, a 27-year-old native of Havana, Cuba. Defected in 2014, signed with the Orioles in 2015. Was pitching at AAA Norfolk with the Baltimore Orioles. Had one game with Baltimore and then got traded for Wade Miley. This one's driven out to right center. Got a chance. Smith will get there and make the catch as he backs up onto the track. Two down. Just got in on the hands enough.
Yeah, off the bat, looked like it had a shot. Didn't quite square that one up.
So 2 outs and Escobar still at first. And it'll bring up Albert 0 for 2. A double play ball in the first and a fly ball to center in the fourth. Albert 0 for his last 17 with the 0 for 2 tonight. Down low. Head of the count of 2 balls and no strikes.
You would think fastball count now for Albert here against Miranda, although he has thrown that changeup behind in the count very well. Albert looking for that home run number 30 of the season, to be the 14th time in his career to do so.
In on the hands, just enough. Shallow left field. Aoki comes racing in. And it's Martin who makes the catch in shallow left field, as the Angels are done here after getting a leadoff single. We'll head to the 7th. Still Seattle 2-0. Infinity. Visit your local Southern California Infinity retailer for a test drive today. And by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Top of the 7th inning, Seattle up by the score of 2-0. Single by Mike Zunino on the 2nd, and a home run by Robinson Cano in the 3rd. That has been all as far as the scoring is concerned for Seattle. Velasco has settled down after a 1-out double in the 4th. He's retired 8 batters since. He'll face Martin, Zunino, and Marte. It was Martin who had the double. As a matter of fact, he has 2 of them tonight against Ricky Velasco. First pitch breaking ball in for a strike. Martin with 16 doubles now in the season.
Something he does often, either attempts to bunt or will put that bunt down. Push bunt and drag bunt. That split finger fastball had some pretty good movement.
Good off speed. And it's 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Good splitter once again.
91 pitches for Velasco, so unless he gets into trouble here in the 7th, figure he'll finish off this inning. One and 2. 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. 5 hits allowed for Ricky. Two and 2. Season high in pitches for Velasco, 110, and he's done that a couple of times. Quite a few pitches early. Has settled down since then. 22 in the 1st, 21 in the 2nd, 16 in the 3rd. Off speed, and that's yanked down the right field line, and that is going to go for extra bases again. Touched by a fan, so it'll go as a double. Martin will head back to second.
Coming in the game, 14 doubles from Martin, 3 tonight.
Scott Service is out of the dugout wondering if maybe Martin would have had a chance to go for 3.
Do not interfere with the ball taking play as it can affect the outcome of the game.
Looked like the padding slowed the baseball up. I guess it's a legitimate question with the speed of Martin as a leadoff man that maybe he tries to go for it.
Well, the baseball's touches halfway to second. It would be very difficult for him to be able to get to third base or be able to get reviewed and see if they would have placed him at third. First time in his career, 3 doubles in a game.
Not sure what the umpires are talking about here. And yet another explanation. But now they're going to look at it.
I mean, if you could see what we just showed, that he was only halfway between first and second when that baseball was touched by the fan.
I mean, this is what's absurd about the replay rules. You had enough time while his manager was out arguing.
Not even, I should say, not even between. He's just getting it's touches. He's getting just a couple steps past first base.
Right.
There's no way you can place him at third.
Just because he kept running doesn't mean anything. So a man in scoring position, and Zunino at the plate. Zunino 1 for 2, an RBI single in the second and a ground out in the third. Check that in the fourth.
Been solid this year against the Angels.
That's a hit by pitch. He'll be all for Velasco. But Guerra ready to go now. You got Marte coming up. The switch hitter. Sure enough, here comes Socha.
Runs his fastball in. Backhand.
So Dallas Guerra is ready to go on the bullpen. Mike Socha is going to take the ball from Ricky Velasco. Last 6 innings plus 2 batters, and he'll be responsible for the 2 guys on base. A pitching change. So Seattle up 2-0. Innings plus 2 batters, 3 strikeouts. As Deolis Guerra takes over on the mound here with a couple of men on and nobody out. Guerra pitching in his 37th game, 3-0 record, a 2.83 ERA, 34 strikeouts, 4 walks, and 47 2/3. It's our in and out. Who's in, who's out.
Mentioned his 34 strikeouts, 47 2/3. Pretty solid outing again for Ricky Nolasco. That's 3 straight pretty good games in a row for Nolasco. Unfortunately, not a lot of run support here tonight. And Guerra probably be asked to field a bunt here. There's Ricky Nolasco, solid effort.
Ketel Marte coming up, the shortstop. So far tonight, 0 for 2 with a fly ball to center to pop up to second.
Ronan Escobar anticipating a bunt. A report for Pennington to keep Martin close at second.
Bunt on the third base side. It's a beauty. Bandy better hurry up. And that's going to be an infield base hit. Guerra didn't really charge it. And so it was up to Jet Bandy. So that's an infield base hit. They're loaded up.
Left fielder, number 8, Nori Aoki.
And there's no chance for Bandy that far to go. As a pitcher on that play, the design of that is you go as hard as you can towards third baseline. Let your third baseman go back. Try to have that play at third. And that was a very good bunt.
Yeah.
But by Marte, but the only one that's going to make that play is going to be Guerra.
Well, he became a spectator. So bases loaded, nobody out. Here's the top of the order. Nori Aoki. Aoki's 0 for 3 with a ground out, a strikeout, a fly ball to center.
This may be that time if you're Marte out and left, maybe take a step or two in, especially with Guerra on the mound. A lot of change-ups.
Oh, dribbler foul. 0-2.
Definitely now with 2 strikes. Marte has to be aware of something in shallow left field.
Ground ball back up the middle to base hit. Martinez Zunino score makes it 4-0 Seattle. Nori Aoki with a 2 RBI single.
Trying to sneak a fastball. We talked about the hot zones for Aoki. High pitches. It's our top tier play of the game, brought to you by Arco. He's put it in play. Fastball away off the plate, but it was elevated enough where he's able to hit that right back up the middle.
Those 2 runs get charged to Nolasco. Marte ends up at third. And now it's Seth Smith up at the plate. Smith will walk a ground out and a strikeout. Big lead for Aoki at first, not going anywhere, and that one misses low. Close the book now in Nolasco, 4 runs, all 4 earned. 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 strikeouts and a walk. 1-2. A balk's being called now, and now make it 5-0. Marte will score. Aoki over to second base.
Under that set position, and you can see right there, didn't quite disengage with the pitching rubber. You have to step completely off and behind the pitching rubber. Did not do so with that one. Easy ball call.
One-two pitch. Smith pulls one down the right field line. That is just foul. It's interesting going back to that balk call that it seems like this year, and I know we had this conversation earlier this year, that it has become somewhat arbitrary in making the determination of what a pitcher's foot, whether it's engaged on the rubber or not, what you can or can't do. I remember the past where once you put that right foot, if a right-handed pitcher, on the rubber and you've engaged the rubber, then you can't really do anything else. Nowadays you see guys with the baseball in their hand with the foot on the rubber going to the glove, touching the glove before they even look in.
And you even see guys go into that stretch position. They go into hesitation a couple times before they come into that set position.
I mean, I agree that that's a balk what Deolis did. 2 balls, 2 strikes now. Well, we've seen some guys do things where you figure back in the day that was a balk.
Yeah, automatic. There was a period of time where they were calling a lot of balks. We talk about the discernible stop. As you saw pitchers adjusting to the stolen base. We saw quite a few of them there for a while when Ricky Henderson, Vince Coleman, and a lot of Tim Raines, a lot of base stealers were consistently stealing bases. And then all of a sudden you try that slide step, try to be quicker to the plate. A lot more balks were called.
Full count. Well, this 7th inning has come to a complete halt. 4 batters in, nobody out. Cano on deck. And a 3-2 count on Seth Smith. Brett Oberholzer now loosening in the Angels' pen. Pulled over toward first. Crone's got it to the backhand. 1 down. Aoki ends up at third. The infield will come back in with Cano at the plate.
We mentioned Seattle has been playing good baseball, have won 5 in a row. We're seeing it on display here tonight. Very good pitching from Miranda. Very opportunistic swings here, especially after getting some quick outs. At least the first out for the majority of the game, but then they've come back with some extra base hits.
2 for 3 tonight. A single and a home run for Cano. Ground ball to short. Backhanded by Pennington. The throw is awful. Would have had Aoki at the plate. Plenty of time. But Jeff Bandy had no chance whatsoever, and it's 6-0 Seattle.
See this ground ball rated Pennington. A high fastball in the backhand. Had a chance to set himself up. And then on the throw, drop that arm angle, and it sails away from Bandy.
Fielder's choice and an error on Pennington. Man at first, still one out. Nelson Cruz at the plate. Downstairs. Figure with the error that no doesn't get an RBI. One out to Cruz. That is the case because of the error. They assumed that a throw and a good throw does get Aoki. Two balls, no strikes. Rough outing for Deolis Guerra. Not helped out either. Defensive side. It all started with the sacrifice bunt by Ketel Marte, where Deolis himself became a spectator. A pretty good bunt, but Bandy had no chance. Got ahead of Aoki before giving up the single for 2 runs. Got Smith to ground down, and Cano now the fielder's choice with the error.
Well, Cruz will definitely be swinging here 3-0. He gets a fastball.
4-pitch walk puts 2 men on. Kyle Seager due up. Oberholtz ready to go in the pen. And it looks like it's just going to be Charles Nagy going out to pay a visit. Seager will be the 8th man to bat this 7th inning. Also a balk mixed in here as well.
I think when you come down there, it's really coming to that bunt play in this inning. Really changed the whole complexion of this inning for the Seattle Mariners. Will score 4 runs already.
Downstairs for ball 1. Falling behind guys doesn't help matters. Seager 0 for 3 tonight. A strikeout, a fly ball to right, and a fly ball to center. One. 1-2.
Seager's had a tough time on breaking pitches this season. 171 batting average versus breaking balls. Very, very good on fastballs, especially 90+ mile-an-hour fastballs.
This is hit towards second. Petit with a nice play, bobbles it, but gets the out at first. They're still trying to get to second base and get the lead runner.
That was not an easy play.
No.
That ball was squared up well by Seager. That changeup drifted on the inner part of the plate. Baseball was by him. Still able to get the glove on it. Wise decision to go to first base at that point.
So 2 outs, runners at second and third, and Dae-Ho Lee at the plate. Lee, the first baseman, 0 for 3. A line out, 2 ground outs. 6-0 Seattle. We're in the 7th. .21 pitches thrown by Deolis. Seattle with 8 hits, the Angels with 3. Looks like the Mariners will go to the bullpen as Lee takes a strike. Ariel Miranda with 6 shutout innings tonight. 3 hits allowed, 3 strikeouts and a walk. Very little stress.
Great command of his pitches tonight.
One, two. Gets away from Bandy, but not far enough for Cano to advance.
There's Miranda, who's thrown the ball so well tonight.
Two-two pitch. Full count.
High fastball. More likely he'll come back with his changeup now. Again, this is a little bit too much to the plate with his changeup. It's been a very effective pitch for Guerra this season wearing that Angel uniform.
Lee hits one toward the middle. Pennington to his left. Throws out Lee, and the inning comes to an end, but not before Seattle adds 4. It's 6-0 as we head to the bottom of the 7th.
Up. I want Walker for Seattle. Last time out against the Angels, gave up 3 home runs. Alex Meyer threw the ball well, a little bit erratic at times with the walks, but good power fastball. 5 punch-outs in 3 1/3 innings pitched for Alex Meyer. So a couple arms that can bring that fastball tomorrow night.
Nick Vincent takes over on the mound. 52nd game, 3-4 mark at a 3.48 ERA. New left fielder in Heredia. New right fielder in Gamble. Cron, Marte, and Bandy for the Angels here in the 7th. This is punched to the right side. It's a base hit for CJ to lead off the 7th inning.
Real good piece of hitting by CJ Cron, staying back on that one. Baseball traveled deep in the strike zone on a fastball, lines it in right field. See that hole between first and second. Stayed back on that one well, looking to line that one. Good swing from CJ Cron. Had a couple good swings in this game. Finally got a hit. Some good defense against him. Martin ran one down in right center field on a good swing from CJ Cron.
Marte looks at a strike. Jeffrey certainly happy that Miranda's out of the game. A couple of strikeouts. 2 off-speed pitches. Downstairs. 1 ball, 1 strike. Base hit by CJ Cron, just the 4th hit for the Angels tonight. Nick Buss has come out to the on-deck circle, so he's going to pinch hit for Jet Bandy. Might even see Gratterall behind the plate.
Boy, Vincent had struggled against the Angels this season. His ERA 8.44. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, including 2 home runs.
Just missed low. 3 balls and a strike. Strike. Jeffrey thought he had himself a walk. The pitch looked like it was off the plate.
Yeah, the pitch before was certainly a better pitch. See location corner on Fox Tracks, off the outside corner and down.
Three, 2, and Marte will go down swinging for the first out. Hey, follow Angels Baseball live with MLB.com at Bat App. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day. Live game video highlights, StatCast news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. 1 out, 1 on. And here's Nick Buss pinch hitting for Jet Bandy. Jet finishes the night going 0 for 2. 210 average for Nick. 23rd game with the Angels. Hitless as a pinch hitter. Buss shoots one down the right field line, but hook's fouled and out of play. It's 2 balls, 1 strike.
Cut fastball, he will throw that quite a bit. Many Major League Baseball players that came from Long Beach State.
Full count. There's a walk. So 2 on with 1 out. We'll bring up Cliff Pennington. Pennington tonight 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a ground out.
"15 pitches thrown for Vincent, 8 of them out of the strike zone.
Pennington shoots one out to right field. Will get down for a base hit. Being waved around as Crone. He will score. Buss ends up at third, and Pennington with the RBI single gets the Angels on the board at 6-1 Seattle.
10th RBI of the season for Pennington. Base running by Buss, able to get all the way around to third. Inside with the fastball. Just enough on that one to fight that one off in the right field. How quickly Buss gets all the way over to third base. First to third on that single in the right field easily.
G-Man Choi will come up and pinch hit for Gregorio Petit. El Stottlemyre Jr. out to pay a visit. A long 7th inning for both sides. McVincent handed a 6-0 lead here in the 7th, and he's unable to throw strikes with any consistency. Tom Wilhelmsen getting ready. Just off the DL.
Bullpen for the most part has been a strong point for Seattle this year. 3.81 ERA. Again, trying that cut fastball well off the inside corner. Starters with a 4.32 coming into the game tonight. Miranda was excellent in 6 shutout innings for Seattle.
One ball, 1 strike on Choi. Top of the order, and Escobar on deck. Choi pops it up behind the plate. Zunino looks like he's got a play on it. 2 down. Up to Escobar to keep the inning alive.
Third baseman, number 6, Escobar.
Escobar 1 for 3. Singled his last time up.
Looking for his 45th multi-hit game of the season. Base hit last at bat.
Nick Buss standing at third base. Cliff Pennington with the RBI single over at first. That's blocked by Zunino. One or two.
Cut fastball, middle of the plate, but upper part of the strike zone.
Two on the way. Pennington was on the move. It's fouled off. Full count. Pennington will be on the move here. Cahill Lee will play behind him with 2 outs. 26 pitches thrown by Nick Vincent. 3-2. This is a chopper to third. Seager bobbles a first, second, straightens up, throws out Escobar, and the inning comes to an end. The Angels do get on the board, leave a couple on. Head of the 8th with Seattle up 6-1.
Pitcher for the Angels, trailing the M's by the score of 6-1. I'm Patrick O'Neill. Stick around after the game for Angels Live. Brought to you by your SoCal Mazda dealers. Joined by Tim Salmon and Jose Mota. At this point, I have no idea what they're going to say, but generally, it's pretty fascinating and good stuff. Coming up after the game, Alex Curry with all the interviews, talking Cano, certainly doing his thing with the bat and defensively, and some good stuff we saw from Nolasco. Guys, I do not have a baseball cap. I'd go with the rally cap right now if I did. I'm sure there's some fans out there that are working it right now. Got to continue to believe this one's not over. Back to Victor and Mark.
Thanks a lot, Patrick. Ever the optimist and the glass half full guy. We appreciate it as always as Brett Oberholzer takes over on the mound here. With the Angels, 6 games, 2 starts, and it has not been pretty for Brett. The command has been the biggest issue for him. You see the record at the bottom there, 1-1, the ERA at almost a 10. He'll be throwing to a new battery mate as Juan Gratterall takes over behind the plate as we expected. New second baseman, 2 behind Brett. It's Caleb Coward. Martin, Zunino, and Marte. For Seattle here in the 8th. 6-1 Mariners. 1 ball would strike. Dale Esquera, by the way, went 1 inning, allowed 2 runs on 3 hits, a walk and a balk. One. 2 balls and a strike. Mariners center fielder, 3 doubles tonight. A flare down the left field line, a liner to left center, and then a rocket down the right field line. He's used the entire field tonight.
First time in his career with 3 doubles in a game. Mentioned earlier, coming into this game, 14 doubles on the season.
Yes, he did. Full count.
Tied him up with a fastball inside.
Three-two on the way. And Martin has himself a 4-hit game. It'll bring up Mike Zunino.
So really impressive at bats by Martin. You mentioned using the entire field. And even on a pretty good pitch, it was down and away. Lines that one right back up the middle.
Mike Zunino 1 for 2. He's also been hit by a pitch. He rips this one foul. 4 hits for Martin, matching a career high. It's the 3rd time he's done it in his career. 2nd time this year. Did it back in May against Cincinnati. Oh, 2. Oh, 2. Zunino dribbles this one foul. Zunino skies one out to center. One down. A couple of other games still going on. Arizona leading Colorado 10-9 in Phoenix. That game's in the 7th. San Diego shutting out the Giants 4-0. That game's the top of the 8th. Everything else the final tonight. Texas defeating Houston 4-3 in 12 innings with Rougned Odor hitting a home run against the Astros.
It's like a Cardinals-Bronco game in Arizona tonight.
Ketel Marte, the shortstop, spins around to hit from the right side. 1 for 3. Had that bunt against Guerra that was supposed to be a sacrifice. Ended up going for an infield base hit. He also scored one of the 4 runs in the 7th. Two balls, no strikes. Skied to shallow center. Here comes Trout. 2 down. Fifth fly ball out caught by Trout tonight. Top of the order now, and it's Ben Gamble at the plate. First plate appearance for him. International League Most Valuable Player in the Yankee system, and acquired from Seattle a couple of weeks ago. 17th game in the big leagues, 11th with Seattle. Takes down and away.
Saw a pretty good eye from Gamble up in Seattle. Worked some counts very well.
Oberholzer behind again. 2 balls and no strikes. Heredia is the man on deck. Out toward left center field. That's hit pretty well. Trout racing back. He'll pull up. That's gone. Matt Gamble goes the opposite way for his first major league home run. And Seattle's lead is now 8-1.
It's pretty impressive power going the other way. Talked about how the baseball was traveling pretty well here tonight. Opposite field home run for his first career home run for Gamble. Got himself in a fastball count, was looking fastball. That baseball traveled the outside part of the plate and drives it out to left center field.
Got a 2-0 pitch, and he sat on it. And here's Heredia for his first plate appearance. Took over in left field in the 7th. Heredia playing his 31st game, 224 average. Couple of doubles, a home run at 10 runs batted in. Two. This low, full count. This one looped foul. Swing and a miss. Heredia goes down swinging, but not before. Ben Gamble hits his first big league home run, extending the Mariners' lead to 8-1. Angels have 2, 3, and 4 coming up at Calhoun, Trout, and Pujols. They will face a new pitcher as left-hander Vidal Nuno takes over on the mound for Nick Vincent. Nuno 1-1 with a 3.58 ERA. This will be his 52nd game of the season. 47 strikeouts, 10 walks in 55 and a third innings. Vincent went 1 inning, gave up a run on 2 hits, struck out 1 and walked 1. He wanted to fill in all the boxes, and he did. Calhoun, a single, a walk, and a fly ball to left. 1 for 2 night. The Angels have managed a total of 5 hits. That's it against Seattle. Ariel Miranda, the left-hander, got the start with 6 solid, allowing 3 hits and no runs. Two balls, 1 strike.
Cole has been real solid against left-handed pitching this season, coming in the game with .283 batting average compared to .259 versus right-handed pitching.
3-1. That is yanked down the right field line, and this one is foul. Talk about turning on a pitch. A long strike. It's 3-2.
Well, he crushed that baseball. Just unfortunate for Cole that this hooked foul at the end.
There's a walk. So leadoff man on board to start the 8th. We'll bring up Trout. 0 for 3 tonight. A couple of fielder's choices and a fly ball to right. And Scott Service was playing matchup in an 8-1 game in the 8th. He's going to go to the bullpen here. Tom Wilhelmsen takes over. Still 8-1. The 8th inning, leadoff walk and a quick hook for Scott Service as he takes out Vidal Nuno and brings on Tom Wilhelmsen to face Mike Trout with nobody out in the 8th. 45th game, 2-4 mark, a 7.29 ERA. Wilhelmsen has done a nice job since returning to Seattle. This will be his 24th game with the Mariners after starting the season with Texas. Was traded to the Rangers and picked up once again. First pitch fastball, little loop around to shallow right center field. That'll fall in for a hit. Perfect lob wedge off the end of the bat by Trout. And the Angels have 2 on here to start the 8th.
It was the back at bats where Trout was swinging early, swinging on that first pitch. Pretty good fastball, 95 down. Trout very good on low pitches this season, 306 batting average.
Breaking ball, and it misses to Albert. 0 for 3, a double play ball, a fly ball to center, and a fly ball to left. And this one's off the end of the bat to shallow left. Already a long run over. 1 down. Calhoun remains at second, John at first, and Crone coming to the plate now. Crone looks at a strike. 1 for 3. He had a single with a run scored in the 7th. Oh, 2. Just got a piece of it.
That's the thing with Wilhelmsen. He does throw that firm fastball, 93 to 97 range, but he does have a very good slider and curveball.
Cal remains at 0-2. The walk to Calhoun, a single by Trout, and a fly ball by Pujols. Ground ball towards short. Marte to Cano. Quick turn. And they get the double play. We will head to the 9th. But the Angels down 8-1. And what a heck of a turn by the smooth second baseman.
Well, I didn't think any chance at all to double play. Marte quickly gets rid of that baseball, and Cano so quick as far as getting rid on that transfer. 6-4-3 double play. Well done by the middle infielders here for Seattle.
New center fielder for the Angels, Shane Robinson, takes over. In center field for Mike Trout, Rafael Ortega takes over in right for Cole Calhoun. Down low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cano 2 for 4 with a single and a home run. Fly ball to right and a fielder's choice.
Well, Seattle trying to stay in that conversation as far as the wild card race. The Yankees lost. Baltimore lost today. Houston lost, and Kansas City lost. So Seattle picks up a game on a number of teams in that race for the wild card.
Cano picks up a leadoff single to start the 9th. Daniel Vogelbach making his major league debut as he will pinch hit here for Nelson Cruz. Mike Freeman is the pinch runner at first. And Scott Service making sure that he gets all 35 of his guys into this game tonight. Ground ball over to second. Coward, a little bit of a bobble, feeds Pennington for 1, and they don't turn the double play. 1 down.
We'll go back looking for that first major league hit. Was up there swinging early. Hitting him in a fielder's choice.
A 1 out, 1 on. Kyle Seager now up. Seager hitless tonight, 0 for 4. Oh, 2. Two balls, 2 strikes. Second inning of work for Oberholzer. Gave up 2 runs in the 8th on the Gamble home run.
Trying to force him to swing at a breaking ball. Mentioned earlier that Seager's had a tough time with breaking balls this year, but you've seen in this game, throw a fastball, he squares it up pretty well. Between him and his brother, putting up outstanding seasons. Corey with the Dodgers, Kyle here with Seattle.
Bounces this one foul. It kind of took a weird bounce towards fair territory.
Yeah, it looked like after it passed the base, it came back in the fair territory.
This one's down the line. That's going to get down to go for a base hit. Ortega over to cut it off. Vogelbach keeps running to third. So Seager picks up his first hit of the night, 12th hit for Seattle. And the Mariners have 2 men on with 1 out. And it's Dae-Ho Lee due up. Now they're calling Vogelbach out at second for missing the bag. So 2 outs.
Scott Service wants to take a look at this. Ryan Honora right there to see. He's looking right at the base. And completely missed the base.
That was close. That might work in the minors. In the big leagues, you actually have to hit the base.
There's no in the neighborhood play on that one.
No. So 2 outs. Seager at first. Dae-Ho Lee at the plate. Good off-speed pitch. Leo for 4. Everything's hit tonight to the left side of the infield. 3 times to the shortstop position, once to third. 0-2. John O'Malley, the pinch runner for Seager at first. One ball, 2 strikes on Dae-Ho Lee, top of the 9th. 8-1 Seattle. Lee fouls it off. Actually, a misspoke, Gooby, because Vogelbach maced the base. Seager doesn't get credit with a single. It's a fielder's choice. That's tough.
Yeah.
Big old hang with him. Dae-Ho Lee shoots a towering shot to right. Ortega's there. And we will head to the bottom of the ninth. The Angels down 8-1. New pitcher on for the Seattle Mariners. It's Dan Altavilla taking over on the mound. A right-hander pitching in his 8th game. No record, 4 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, and he's got a little life on that fastball.
And we saw that in Seattle. He can rush that one between 94 and 98 miles an hour.
Freeman remains in the game at second. O'Malley, the pinch runner, remains in the game at third.
Also will throw a slider at 94-98 with his fastball.
Marte, Gratterall, and Pennington for the Angels here in the ninth, barring any other changes. First one just a little bit outside. Marte 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Tough night. Starting left fielder tonight. That is skied foul. 1-1. One now. Off speed pitch. 2-1. Close ball game, 2-0 until the 7th inning, Gooby, and then all of a sudden it just became an ugly game as Seattle sent 9 men to the plate, scored 4 times on 3 hits. There was a balk, misplay by Pennington. Miscommunication or something to the effect on that bunt, the sacrifice hit.
It's one of those plays too where you're thinking in terms of you want that force out at third, so as a pitcher you get off that mound as quick as possible to have that shot.
This is popped up on the right side. Freeman calling for it. 1 down. So here's Juan Gratterall, first plate appearance. He's had one big league at bat. He got a double out of it. Long-time minor leaguer.
527 games in the minor leagues over the last 10 years.
Good chunk of those in the Royals system.
We had a really good, fun opportunity to be able to talk to Juan after that game in which he got his major league at bat and a hit with that at bat and an RBI. What a smile he had on his face.
Bobbled by Lee, but he'll take it himself. 2 down.
He was telling me that Albert Pujols said, just get up there, look for that first pitch fastball, and just let it go. Anytime you get an advice from a future Hall of Famer like Albert Pujols, it made him feel real, real good and comfortable.
So 2 outs, nobody on. Cliff Pennington up. Halo's on the verge of dropping the opener against Seattle. Seattle will remain 9.5 back and now in second place. American League West, with Texas having defeated Houston earlier tonight. Houston drops to third and 10.5 back.
All those expectations for the Astros coming into the season. Some key injuries, especially their pitching staff. Dallas Keuchel out still. Lance McCullers Jr. out still.
That's down and in, 3-1. Robinson Cano homering tonight. That was tonight, right? Back in the 3rd inning.
Just over the glove of Cole Calhoun and right.
Tying a career high for him. Pennington will ground out to Dejo Lee, and Seattle takes game 1 by the final of 8-1.
And unfortunately, Ricky Nolasco threw the ball very well for the most part all the way up into that 7th inning. He left a couple runners on and both ended up scoring. And then Seattle added on and they win game 1 here, 8-1. Miranda, very, very impressive in 6 shutout innings. Also, Cano with that home run. Won the bat very, very well. Same thing with Leonis Martin with 4 hits, including 3 doubles.
Yeah, 4 hits matching a career high. Cano's 33rd home run matching his career high. 8-1 the final. Seattle takes game 1. Stick around. Angels Live post game coming up next.